first round, we're going to do a pretend round. And I'll go through the drill with you really slowly so you know what they're doing and why they're doing it. But on the first round, it'll be for real, so you'll have to cover your ears. And for a lot of the children will ask me if we're shooting a cannonball out. No, we are not. We're only doing blanks. We don't want a cannonball going over the Wabash into someone's backyard. So no, we're not. Both of these guns have a range, by the way, of 3/4 of a mile to a mile. Not accurate though, because there's no sights on those guns, but they can lower and raise the barrel. So you can see on the gray one, you can see there's a wedge, a wooden wedge. That can raise and lower the barrel. They can swivel the guns.
That wedge right back there?
So they can get their range after a few tries. So are we ready? No.
Channel cartridge.
Okay.
Advanced cartridge. Advanced cartridge.
I'll give you a warning too. And because it rained so bad last night and this morning, everybody crossed their fingers that we're going to go off because they're black powder weapons. Black powder and rain do not mix well. And so we did shoot this morning, and with the 3-pounder went off. So we'll see. Okay, we have one ready, one crew ready. Second crew's ready. Cover your ears, please.
Fire positions. America. Fire.
Okay, they went up. Good. Everybody across their fingers now. All right. Okay,
What'd I tell you? You feel it in your chest?
okay.
Yeah.
The next one is pretend, so you don't have to cover your ears. But the first command, it would be to tend the vent. The person on the back right of the gun has his thumb covered with a piece of leather. He puts his thumb over the vent hole, thereby preventing any drafts to get in. Because you just fired, there could be debris or smoldering embers in there, and you do not want to put a live round of gunpowder in there if there's any possibility of something catching it. So what they do is they keep their thumb on there the whole time they're working on the front of the gun. And then they sponge the piece. There's a bucket of water at each cannon and a long pole with wool, sheep's wool on it. And they put that in the bucket and they swab the inside. And you'll actually hear a popping noise because it's a very tight fit. It helps create a vacuum as well as extinguishing embers. Then the man on the opposite front, left, searches the piece. And the piece refers to the cannon. It's a long pole with a corkscrew type wire, and that goes in there, and they twist and turn and pull out any pieces of, in the 18th century would be fabric. In our time, we use aluminum foil as a safety. They pull that out, and then they also sponge it again. And the whole time they're doing that, you notice they're not putting their hand at the end of the pole and pushing it in. They let it slide over the palms of their hands, because if for some reason something ignites that could blow the pole out, and they don't want their hand on the end of that pole going with it. So they let it slide over their hand. And like I said, the whole time the person in the back is covering the vent hole. After they've done the swabbing, then they ask for advanced handling cartridge. Handling cartridge, the people in the back here are standing by the cartridge box, which has the round that has the black powder in it. They handle it, an advanced cartridge, they bring it up to the person on the front left. And then they hand it off to that person and come back to the cartridge box. The person on the front left then charges the piece by putting the cartridge bag all the way in. And most of the time, they're actually putting their arm into the gun. And the front two positions are the most dangerous positions because not only are they handling the black powder in the front, but they also, for the most part, have their back to the battle. So that is the most dangerous part. Ram down cartridge, the person on the front right then takes a ramrod, which is just like a baseball bat type, and they rams that cartridge down, compressing it so that it's not only under the vent hole, but it's tight. And the more you compress gunpowder, the more force it's going to have. And then finally, they have the command where prick and prime, where the person holding the vent hole takes his thumb off there, has a priming wire in his belt, puts that into the vent hole, piercing the bag, and then he primes the gun. Usually just with gunpowder right on the vent hole. But what we're doing here, which was also done in the 18th century military, is using quills that have gunpowder already in it. So they put that into the vent hole. It caused a little bit more efficient and a quicker reaction. And then to actually fire the gun, they'll say firing positions or make ready, and then they bend away from the gun because of the concussion coming off of there, except for the person on the back left. They have a long pole, and on the end is rope that's been soaked in saltpeter, which is potassium nitrate, and that keeps it burning at a slow rate. And that person has to keep flicking it or blowing on the tip of it to keep it hot. And then make sure that the rope isn't curling up, because it has to be just the hottest point to touch the gunpowder there. And then they would, when the command to fire, now this is not, there's no gunpowder in there, they will then not put the lint stock straight down, because the flame coming out of the vent could just blow off the end of your rope, and then you don't have a source of firing. You have to find some source of flame to do this again. So they just kind of lean it over, and then it fires, recoils, and they go through the whole drill again. And so the next round will be a real one. Okay.
Yellow cartridge! Command cartridge!
And I wanted to mention too that you see the minimum number that what we can put on a cannon crew, 4 to 5. Usually there's a commander at each gun that stands a little bit behind, and then there is a battery commander or field commander that stands even further back. Each gun has their own commander, and then the commander on the field is responsible for all the guns. But we're short-handed, so the commanders are working the vents on their own guns. But in actuality, they would have had a wagon for each gun behind the lines of it, and that would have maybe 5 to 7 more people, more crew members. They would be rolling rounds. They'd be bringing up the projectiles, because again, we're not shooting the cannonballs or the grape shot or anything else, so we skip that step. And then they would also come up to relieve anybody that was down on the gun. So now they're ready to fire. Cover your ears, please.
Fire!
Now you notice that those guns are recoiling. Both of those guns are quite heavy, so it takes a bit to recoil them. But I wanted to tell you the type of guns they are. The one on the gray carriage is a 5.5-inch howitzer. Howitzers are categorized by the width of their bore. That's a 5.5-inch howitzer. Notice it has a shorter barrel and a wider barrel, and a lot of times it's mainly shot at an upright trajectory because it was meant to shoot exploding shots. So you wanted to get it up and out quickly. The other cannon on the blue carriage is a 3-pound on a 3-pounder on a medium weight carriage. That the cannon, you notice, has a longer barrel, and it was categorized by the ball it shot, and that shot shoots only a 3-pound solid ball, and it was meant more for impact. The howitzer here would have shot grape shot or canister shot. Grape shot were musket balls wrapped around a wooden core, wrapped in cloth and string, so it looked like a cluster of grapes. As it was shot out, the cartridge bag, the flame from that would ignite that fabric and releasing all these musket balls in a large spray over the advancing troops. Okay, I think they're ready to fire. Cover your ears, please.
Fire positions! Fire!
And that is all, folks.